I have tried to like engage with actual justice warrior through Twitter with like, okay, I'm not going to do a name call. I'm just going to post the study right now. Okay, here's the data. Here you go. Can you please stop saying what you're saying? And it will be so quickly goalpost, like just almost instantaneously, like to another thing, like, ha, you know, mere mortal fiend, have you not discovered that this is in fact representational of the fact that black men in fact do not use condoms as much as white men, and that explains why they have all these deep social mores. Like, I am still baffled by this take, and I'm still baffled that he's doubling down and tripling down on this. It is one of the weirder things that I have encountered in the history of engaging with right-wing reactionaries for a living. It is utterly, it might be one of the strangest. It is utterly and completely bizarre, and it's still fucking going. Look, I completely understand why a lot of you don't want to do this. I get it. I don't want to do this. Like I've said before, as horrifyingly transphobic as Alex Jones is, he's at least not deeply unpleasant to listen to. Whereas like AJW is just like dead kittens and plates being smashed and babies screaming levels of unpleasant to be around. Like I really pity anyone who has to socialize with him on a regular basis in every respect. He's just so deeply unpleasant. The thing about actual justice warrior is like I have had encounters with a lot of people like right-wing reactionaries on the internet now, and like there are few of them who afterwards have become as obsessed as AJW did. Like I don't know, like his fans flooded like the debate I had with him, which is like downvoting at comments like AJW bodied you, I can't believe you're ever going to recover from this, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, it's really telling that not only have they all done that afterwards he's just like mad tweeting about me, like, you know, memes, tagging me in posts, constantly trying to get my attention. I was like, that definitely left the mark. Like, say what you will about Count Dankula, there was no afterwards like, oh, fucking, you know, lots of the Serfs and all this kind of shit afterwards. It's just like, I just moved on, went on to another thing, you know. AJW, it's been like a constant thing. Anyways, I did a response video to AJW's takedown of Richard Wolff, which was like, it was hilarious. It was hilarious how bad it was. So I guess afterwards that provoked AJW to do this little masterpiece of theater. So I'm excited. This is the Serfs fail at everything. Hashtag I am Sean90. Why would you use this as a hashtag? Who else is gonna be in this hashtag? Oh, what a surprise. It's just your fucking channel. I really wanted it as a way for people to be able to find my videos outside of my channel itself, you know? Yeah, I am Sean90, 299 videos, 3 channels, wow. Just dumping content.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, today we are going through a special journey where we, as a group, will scrape the...
That's mad creepy. Like, really, children of all ages? Do you want kids to be watching this video where you're going to talk about me? I guarantee you, at some point in this, he's gonna bring up the condom thing. I guarantee it. The black people use condoms less is that entire rhetoric that's coming up 100%.
The bottom of the barrel that is BreadTube and discuss the Serfs times or the Serf times. Who cares how it's pronounced? Who cares about this channel? But for long-term viewers of my channel, you know that this whole back and forth, and by back and forth I mean Lance talking nonsense about me for 8 or 9 months now, started when this guy decided that it was a good idea to make a video about Michael Brown. Now, anybody who's seen my channel knows that if you're wrong about Michael Brown, I will make a video showing that you're wrong about Michael Brown. And when I made my response video to the Serfs, who was looking up Wikipedia versions of media accounts that were misconstruing the
information. That's a good screenshot. No, but bravo. Like, that's really good. That's like freeze framing on something where I like distinctly look like I'm panicking. That's good. That's good. Credit where credit is due.
The Serfs saw that. He did like a reaction to it, and by reaction to it, I mean borderline fair use violation, where he watched in awe as I disassembled every single point that he put forward.
Borderline fair use violation. Okay, fucking armchair lawyer on top of everything. No, I'm multi-talented. I don't just measure skulls. No, yes, I also practice law.
And then he embarrassingly, out of shame, took his video down. So basically,
what let's clear the air from this fucking visible fart. I want to be clear about what happened there. I was doing a PragerU reaction video. I have done many of them. There's many PragerU reaction videos in my library. All right, you can go through them. After I put out that PragerU video, it was not just actual Justice Warrior who had some issues with it. Multiple people did, including people on the left, people who I might have more respect for than say this like basically like what the fuck. Again, so deeply unpleasant to have to listen to. The condescension that comes out of this man's mouth every single time I see him. Like when he pops in on debates or he just pops up on camera, it's like someone who is unfathomably wrong about every topic that he discusses. Doesn't even have a cursory understanding of the statistics that he like wants to bring up or the studies that he wants to show on screen, and then afterwards will act with this air of condescension as if he somehow is right. You know, just leaning back and like, you clearly cannot see or understand the reasons for this, you know. Meanwhile, I'm like, holy shit, like fuck. It's basically like, I don't know, one of the most unpleasant things that I've experienced in my time in this small arena.
I saw something on the internet. I raised thy hand, snapped thy finger, and it was gone. It was an exercise.
I have, for your knowledge, taken down numerous videos I've done. Numerous videos. I listen to the feedback that people give me, not, you know, from you, you're just a right-wing skull-measuring reactionary, but from other people as well. And when they point things out and then I'm like deeply factually incorrect about something, yeah, I have no problem deleting videos, taking videos down, demonetizing videos, correcting myself, deleting tweets. Like, it's a wonderful practice, you know, taking in new information, learning from that, being like, oh, I was incorrect about this, and then changing it. This to me has been, since the get-go, something that he feels like he's done a Thanos snap and he's done like an incredible thing. Like, oh, I destroyed and eviscerated the Serfs so much that he took his video down. Nothing like this has ever been seen before. This complete and utter coward.
If this hand was that powerful, I started to think what would happen if it fell into the wrong hands. What would happen if I decided to use thy power for evil? But regardless, that never happened and the world moved on.
Holy shit, that was a bit? Like, I feel sorry for y'all, for like right-wingers who have to ingest this stuff and be like, oh shit, owned, oh yes, fucking another one.
Incredibly embarrassing in that debate, and since that debate, the Serfs has been going on to anybody who would listen and making up things about what I might have said, or maybe he actually thinks that I did say these things because he's Dunning-Krugered himself into that mindset. But regardless, I've been letting it go for like 8 months because honestly, who cares about the bottom of the barrel when it comes to BreadTube? However, recently I put out a Richard Wolff video. It was elegant, it was beautiful, everyone enjoyed it, and then the Serfs decided that he was going to do a reaction to it. And
I gotta like give credit where credit is due. He's actually capable of speaking while jerking off simultaneously. Like he's pretty good. He's eloquent. You know, I didn't even notice it at first, but now it's pretty apparent.
So I thought at first that maybe I should respond to this reaction. In the beginning, he started getting all high and mighty about a second mic round.
I'll give it to you. This is yet another good screenshot. This is another one where it's like, you freeze frame me looking like a condescending asshole. Yeah, all right, another credit where credit is due.
That he made that supposedly was too good for me to respond to.
There was, of course, an initial video that I had made as a response to a PragerU video, and he called me. Okay, this is the exact same technique as last time. You're doing the slow zoom in. I guess I mean if there's a response to the response to the response right now, I guess you're slowly zooming in on my face as I'm making this comment, and now it's almost all the way up to like an extreme zoom. And now, it's getting even closer now. I'm like, oh shit, look at that. Yeah, now we're all the way in. Yeah, you are the diaper porn of people. Like, I'm serious. You are the personal equivalent of diaper porn. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get in trouble for the whole kink shaming thing. Everyone's gonna be like, Lance, why aren't you being sex positive? I'm just putting it out there. All right, just gonna leave it there. Me out for several of the things. I wanted to correct some of the mistakes I made, and I re-released that video, and I haven't heard any commentary on the secondary release. I guess things were a little too too rock solid on that front.
So of course, I decided to look into this second Michael Brown video to respond to it.
Videos, and in my quest to debunk PragerU videos, I have recently debunked, or did not debunk it successfully, as you'll find out through the course of this video.
Really
one on Michael Brown and the incidents in Ferguson that led to the development of the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, that video that I originally did is problematic for a handful of reasons, which is why I have taken it down off the channel, because again, I don't want my videos to hurt the cause of leftism in any way, and I also want to be accountable to both the people who watch my videos and the people who watch these streams.
Now, needless to say, this video isn't very good. The first part of this video is just him reading from the Department of Justice report.
Okay, I know it's petty. I know it's going to be seen as like childish and a little bit asinine, but it really does look like he gives these speeches while he's jerking off. He's so far up his own ass with everything he does. So proud of himself. It was intoxicating.
I read in my video, and I reference every time I talk about Michael Brown, and it's ironclad, bulletproof forensic evidence that justifies Darren Wilson's actions in that shooting beyond any shadow of a doubt, with a sad look on his face. He doesn't dispute anything of consequence from my video or anything important or relevant like that. But what he does do is talk about how I'm supposedly a hypocrite because I didn't bring up the second Department of Justice report, which was on the ticketing practices of the Ferguson Police Department.
What was strange to me, though, was that he forgot to mention the second Department of Justice report, which you would think is a little bit crucial when it comes to this entire thing, especially if we're going to be talking about Black Lives Matter and whether or not any of this was justified, or the outrage was justified, or the protests themselves are justified.
Now remember, he didn't bring this up in his original.
Yeah, I know, it's scuffed audio. I know. And also, not going through it point by point, not even like giving me anything to break down here. He's just like zoning in on this one thing. I knew it. There's just going to be hyperfixation on this one element of this, as if it's like it's debunked the totality of that video.
The video was about Michael Brown's case. So I did a response based on, wait for it, Michael Brown's case and the report that Serfs didn't bother to read related to that case. But he very smugly and repeatedly throughout this video implies that I did something sneaky.
For someone who is so bent on facts and figures, of which he only refers to one Department of Justice document, he seems to be ignoring the causality. Why it is that so many black people are arriving in prison. Why it is that they are overwhelmingly...
This is an interesting technique. I was just kind of caught off guard there. Suddenly it's zooming into my face. Oh. Now the point has changed, hasn't it?
Accounting for the high levels of prison population.
When he is completely changing the subject, which in and of itself is incredibly sneaky. And this is a tactic the Serfs uses all the time. This is
changing the subject. It's a video, my dude. I'm the one creating the subject in that conversation. Like it's me making that content. I'm not talking to you there.
What he does. It's his only
like fucking debate tactics.
move to change the subject when he's backed into a corner and he's wrong. Like, he should have just opened this video and said straight up, Sean was 100% right. That's why I took down the video. But instead he gives this like weaselly, like, oh, they were actually people on the left that weren't satisfied with my video nonsense to mix in with the fact that
I said that again during this one too. Yeah, I mean, he's really got my number.
That he took it down because my video.
We're 5 minutes in. We've seen 5 minutes of this so far. I'm speeding him up. This is fucking taking forever.
Was superior. It beat his video point for point, and he had nothing to do to respond to it besides take down the video in shame. But instead, he does things like this. So he's like, oh, you didn't.
We had 2 debates. I made a completely like detailed response video that I went point by point, you know, with direct evidence from all the data to be able to like pick this entire thing apart. There was absolutely like, there's nothing you can say in terms of like, it was just absent. There was nothing, you know, he just held his head in shame.
Didn't talk about the ticketing practices, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, if we're going to use one side of the coin and say the initial forensic evidence, the Department of Justice investigation into Michael Brown proved that he, in fact, was not as innocent as everyone was purporting, that he did not, in fact, say hands up, don't shoot. If all that is true.
I take it back, all right? He does have some technique. We've gone from the zoom in to the zoom out. So things have changed. This is... This is different.
And can we also acknowledge the second Department of Justice report that came out at the exact same time? By the way, it's not as if these came out wildly separated from each other. And it's like, oh, well, I just kind of ignored that one because it happened years and years later.
What does that have to do with Michael Brown? Where was that in your original video if you think it's hypocritical for you to talk about Michael Brown without talking about the ticketing practices? Also, if you're going to link this report to the Black Lives Matter movement forming, then you need to explain why this report, like the Brown report, came out the next year after the shooting, but the riots and protests and the unrest started same day that Michael Brown was killed. Or you could show me a video of somebody at one of these Michael Brown protests saying, hands up, don't shoot, but also Ferguson Police Department, we feel it's unfair that we are being ticketed disproportionate to our population for things like jaywalking and speeding, but not to our levels of crime.
Why does it go black and white? Is that supposed to like emphasize like, oh, he's making a really salient point right now? Not only is it doing the zoom in, but we have the second effect. It's now gone from the zoom in to a color change. Yes.
They don't exist because that wasn't what BLM was about, and that wasn't what the unrest.
So I know that AJW isn't able to connect any of these kind of things. Like he doesn't agree, or he doesn't even believe sometimes in like systemic oppression, historical oppression, you know, systemic racism, anything like that. I'm not even gonna try and bring up things like critical race theory and stuff because I know that's not even going to be like within the same framework for this conversation. I'm just gonna say that it's gone immediately to him basically saying, this is what was the cause of Black Lives Matter. And there's going to be some political reasons for that. Like, we'll see.
And Ferguson was about. So that's completely irrelevant, Serfs. Nice try. It's embarrassing. Also, on top of that, he keeps using this black people are 67% or 66% of the Ferguson population, and yet they are ticketed at like 96% or 93%, depending on the stat, as if that gap equals racism, a classic racism of the gaps argument, when we know throughout looking at any major city that disparities between population and crime are the norm, not the exception. Remember, New York City's population is around 40 to 50% Hispanic or Black, but if you go to the shooting stats from any given year in the past 20 years, you will find not one single year where they represent less than 90.
This is where it gets 1350. It didn't take long. It didn't take very long, but now we're in 1350. Now, the problem with 1350 and why it's ridiculous, right, is it's the way people are interpreting data. And they're interpreting it incorrectly. It's almost as if like this is the cause and effect, right? So is it the individuals who are going out there, who are ticketing people, who are maybe profiling people, who are asking for them to present or be ticketed for various reasons? Is that in itself, the racial profiling aspect of it, not contributing in some way to an overrepresentation that is seen? Like, if we want to say that there's no intrinsic reason, there's not like a genetic reason why people are predisposed to these kind of things, then it has to be explained by something else. And AJW will be the first person to say, well, yeah, of course, it's culture. It's culture. I mean, that's going to lead us down to his weird condom theories. But anyways, this in and of itself, it's a misreading. It's a misinterpreting of data, as if somehow like, why would 13% of the population, and it's actually half of that, 6.5% of the population who's actually, black men, why are they committing 50% of murders? That's where the number, the 1350 number comes up, right? How is that explainable? How can we explain that reason? Could it be in any way, shape, or form that perhaps there is something about the actual conditions in which people live in that is making the outcomes different, and the way society itself treats those people? I mean, these things are actually very easily explained. You don't have to like bend over backwards to kind of think that like, well, clearly if we divide society by race, there's a reason, because you can see why these individuals are committing these crimes. They're the ones doing the shootings. They're the ones being ticketed because, yeah, they're like speeding. They're like, trespassing. They're doing the drugs. It's them. It's on every single one of them. And you don't have to remove agency. You don't. Like, that's another thing that you're often accused by on the right. Like, as if somehow, like now, Black Americans don't have agency, as if they don't make any of their own choices. Of course they do. Every human being does. But when you dramatically change the conditions that someone lives in, like, obviously, poverty is going to lead to crime. Like, the two are directly correlated. If you add every other thing in there, like the way you're treated by society, historical racism, the fact that you will be stopped more often by the cops just based on the way you look, right? All these kind of statistics. The fact that you came from a history of slavery being brought over here against your will. On top of that, there was hundreds and hundreds of years where you did forced labor. So all of the money that was accrued under that by people who were most likely white by complexion, they were becoming infinitely wealthier through that. Once that finally ended. You were not given property as you were told that you were going to be. You know, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. So shortly thereafter, you're starting from scratch in a system that is already beating and impressing you. And then come in Jim Crow laws, right? We have basically segregation in the United States. We're going to have two different classes of people for two different sets of people. Add redlining to the mix. Like, good luck getting a loan. Good luck getting a house. Good luck being able to move into affluent communities. Affluent communities, by the way, that are actively trying to kill you because the KKK is incredibly powerful around this time. And there's like people at the highest levels of government are also putting on clans robes and hoods and burning fucking crosses when they leave the house. All of this shit. I mean, that's not even scratching the surface of it, you know? The civil rights movement pushing up against that. Even the ending of Jim Crow laws resulting in this huge disparity between the income between black Americans and white Americans. White Americans, for some reason, happen to have twice the amount of wealth sometimes than black Americans do. The number of accrued wealth by black Americans is actually in the descent rather than ascending, even with all these so-called end racism that we're experiencing in today's day and age. Like, I can't begin to explain the amount of difference there is between the white American experience and the black American experience on every level. And so then to look upon statistics and be like, well, yeah, it's because of culture. It's the hip hop. You get, and the jazz music and the reefer. You understand that, right? It's just degeneracy. So obviously, once they fix that on their own, we'll fix it all. Racism over, right?
4% of the shooting suspects in New York City. So disproportionate crime to population is not something atypical that we would expect. But that's just one example of the serfs moving the goalpost, changing the subject, being incredibly deceptive, and or...
No, you're just not answering any of this shit. You can't keep doing that. You can't just talk about things. You just say things out loud. You fucking Ben Garrison come to life. Like, all this shit, like, you should actually reflect upon it. Why is that? That's why I kept asking you that debate. Why? Why do you think this is? Why is there overrepresentation? Because we know it can be explained now. Your understanding of this topic doesn't have to end there.
Possibly Dunning-Krugering his way into hearing something that he thinks I said that I didn't say. Another thing that the serfs always does every time he mentions me is he calls me a race realist.
But we did end up having some debates, and you know, for better or for worse, we got to learn some things about.
I love how he brings that up right after doing a 1350. Goes right to a 1350 to, oh, by the way, for some reason he keeps calling me a race realist.
The wonderful world of race realism. Actual Justice Warrior is a race realist, by the way. Sean Fitzgerald is similar. He's also a race realist.
Which is really strange, because I don't believe I've ever been called that in public before. And it's...
Actual Justice Warrior is a race realist. There's another one for the collection. There you go.
It's even more strange because the conversation portion that he bases calling me a race realist on is a portion where I agreed with him. Let me play you the clip from the debate.
So the Human Genome Project has mapped out the entirety of the human sequence of DNA, and what we found from that is there isn't actually a genetic variable that we can attribute to race.
So what the serfs were saying,
I'm just appreciating the icon I was choosing to use.
To paraphrase a little bit, is that there are no hard lines between racial or ethnic groups in the way that we classify them. Perfect example of this is Barack Obama, who's half black and half white, yet we consider him black just based on his appearance, even though he is equal parts both. Kamala Harris, another example of this. She is considered a black woman by the media, even though she's half Indian, which would make her, if you're in the UK, like half Asian. Even though in the United States of America, we don't refer to Indians as Asians. It's a whole thing. I don't want to get into it. But point being that there's no real dividing line, especially in those edge cases, in which we can accurately define somebody in a scientific way. That is the social construct aspect of race. And this is a point, by the way, that I agreed with, and I stated it back to him.
Genetic variable that we can attribute to race.
Yeah, I understand that there's no hard line, but there are genetic characteristics, hair color, eye color, skin color, that we see and we call race. So,
right. So what you're doing in that case is you're attributing a handful of qualities to people to try and categorize them that don't actually exist. So the idea that a certain amount of melanin in your skin can actually... Oh no, that all exists, but the idea that then makes you a fake idea or a concept of race,
conversation, right? Because we both know what we're talking about when we're talking.
Well, I think it's an uncomfortable conversation because you might not like going around this kind of road, but I understand.
So yeah, I'm just going to move past this. That's all we think about it. Something that gets brought up a lot when this question is proposed, and it's something that might be useful, is this idea that black people are a monolith or white people are a monolith when they most certainly aren't. Like, you should definitely apply how you would use like the application of medicine, for example, based on traits that you have inherited genetically. But the idea that you can then group all black people into a single group because of something, say, like sickle cell anemia. Like sickle cell anemia is a great example of that is going to be more proportionally represented in a black population that has come from certain parts of the continent of Africa. But not all black people will experience those disproportionately higher rates of sickle cell anemia. That's not a thing. Black people are not a monolith. The same thing with white people. Like that's why when you get like that's something that's very specific. But if you move that all the way into like a category of talking about like stereotypes, so like white people might be smaller. They're just not going to be as tall or something like that. That's also a ridiculous statement because like the tallest people in the world happen to be, I think, the Dutch. But it's just like none of that matters. It's the idea that we lump people together as races based on characteristics. Like we wouldn't do the same thing for eye color, but that is the exact thing that we are doing. We are looking at someone and then saying based on your appearance that you are now going to be lumped into something that is as large and broad as a characterization of race. But it is incorrect. It is incorrect from a scientific standpoint. It's incorrect from a medical standpoint. Like it wouldn't be safe of you to apply that as well, right?
Why? Word for it, then that's fine. But we both know what each other are talking about. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that there's a hard line between black, white, Asian, South Asian or whatever. Now, at the time, I thought the serfs understood what I was saying, and I think the part where he may have gotten tripped up is later in the conversation where I pointed out, well, you are asserting that there is racism against black people. You are expressing support for a movement called Black Lives Matter. I am talking about black crime, so we understand to a certain extent what these categories mean for the purposes of this conversation. So it's really weird 30 minutes in or whenever he brought it up for him to say that these things don't exist, but then to go on and talk about anti-black racism in the United States of America specifically.
Oh, they still don't get it. Okay, so hey, by the way, if I bring up something like we've invented a social construct, that doesn't change the way society sees us. I'm identifying both problems. Like, people are still black when they leave the house in the way society perceives them. Yes, that is what the idea of whiteness and blackness is. Like, and you were almost correct in identifying the fact that like it's very strange how we get lumped into these categories where sometimes it doesn't seem like rational. Like, why is Barack Obama black when he's half black and half white? Why am I white or white passing even though my mother's indigenous, right? It's just the genetic makeup that we then throw people into these characterizations, but that doesn't change the way society does. Like, I'm identifying society's perception of that as well as the fact that it shouldn't exist. Like, both can be true at the same time. Like this almost is less like something I want to make fun of and something I think is just like a really big shortcoming on the right and something I want to find out how to bridge the gap, because that would be very important for them to learn. Like, so many of them are indoctrinated with this Charlie Kirk kind of mentality. Critical race theory is all made up. Critical race theory isn't real. Like, critical race theory should be abolished because it's actually racist and stuff like that. These are ways of like sociology especially, it's a way of identifying the way society itself is acting, how we are collectively making decisions, how we are interacting with each other, how our interactions with each other affect broader humanity, things of that nature. So it's important for people to get these kind of concepts. Like, I would prefer that not only actual justice warrior, but people on the right understood that. Like, when we identify, and we have scientifically that, like empirically, that race is a social construct. There's no such thing as it. Like, there's no way that we should be we should be lumping people into these categories. And at the same time, society does. So we need to put an end to that. Like, I have identified two problems. Both can be a problem. Both things. It's not a contradiction.
Specifically in reference to law enforcement.
What I'm saying is those things don't actually exist. They were invented by the white race in order to characterize people into different classifications. What I'm saying is those things don't actually exist. They were invented by the white race. They were invented by the white race.
And for some reason, that got garbled in his Dunning-Kruger brain into him.
That's the excuse. Fuck me. Oh, goddamn. I misspoke. Like, I fuck up my words sometimes. I speak too quickly. So yes, I messed up. That doesn't fucking disprove everything. Oh my God.
Being able to think that it's appropriate to say race realist, when again, if he agrees with me, or if I agreed with him on his base position, that would make him a race.
No, you don't. God damn it. This is so frustrating. Oh. I want to say the Dunning-Kruger effect because goddamn, but like you've almost ruined that word. It almost doesn't make, like it has no meaning anymore.
But wait, there's more, because there's always more. Now, to be
like, this is the problem too, is like why it is actually a bit like the Dunning-Kruger effect is like the pompousness. I've said this before, and he's the same way in debates where he's just like, he has this air of what he thinks is actually factually correct, and it's so bafflingly wrong. That's why it's so frustrating to listen to this individual. That's why I've told you before, it's painful to sit through actual Justice Warrior.
To be perfectly fair, I understand why the Serfs was a little bit shook. I made a video about him, he had to take it down in embarrassment, and coming on my channel in order to debate me was a big moment where he could restore some of his pride. So I understand him not really listening, misconstruing what I say, and not really understanding.
Like, honestly, I do not care about any of the pride or the egos here. I would just genuinely prefer if you understood very basic concepts, and if you could impart that information to your audience. All right, if you didn't keep lying about these things, or like the thing is, I don't even think you're lying. I think you just don't understand it. Like you haven't been able to comprehend this, as if somehow when someone points something out, then that must make it an instantly hypocritical statement, that the opposite cannot be true. Like, how can you, Lance, at one point say that race is a social construct, while at the same time you are not willing to say that society somehow talks about race and treats people differently based on their race? How could they treat people differently based on their race if race is made up?
Being able to follow along, because he was in a highly emotional state during the course of our conversation. However, there's one lie about me that he keeps repeating that I don't understand, because he'll use clips of me saying what I'm actually saying in videos and then continue to misrepresent my position. For instance, and this is going to sound super weird if you weren't following this along, the Serfs is under the impression that I made the case that black people not using condoms comparatively to other ethnic groups was somehow related to biology.
Fucking called it. Knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
That happened.
Oh, he's obsessed. Fucking 12 minutes and 28 seconds. You fucking weirdo. I fucking called it.
The black community on things that aren't real, such as the fact that he thinks they wear condoms less, and that's
there's a link missing where he legitimately doesn't see. I don't know. I'm gonna have to pull this back up now. I'm gonna have to go back through the studies. So, by the way, I know I have been a little bit crass and or cruel during the course of this video response to the response. So I acknowledge that. I'll acknowledge that. And honestly, there is a fair critique that is usually levied against the left, especially like the quote-unquote dirtbag left, that rather than address the actual substance of my argument, it's not put anywhere nearly as eloquent as this. It's more like, but anyways, rather than address the substance of my argument, more often than not, you'll revert to like childish name calling, petty name calling, if you will. So that is sometimes a fair critique, because honestly, it goes back to that Zizek quote where it's like, there are some people that when you're arguing with them, perhaps a little bit of dogmatism is necessary. Like there are times, like, you know, I am fully aware of the idea that like there's some catharsis and joy in laughing at a Nazi rather than listen to him try to justify his ideologies, right? And I'm not going that far. I'm not saying that actual Justice Warrior is a Nazi. I am not saying that, and I am saying that like he is a race realist. I'm using that term in the most clear way possible. I'm gonna have to pull up some video clips now to try and justify why I would say that statement. But going into this and going deep into this and then deep down this rabbit hole that we have, I have tried to like engage with actual Justice Warrior through Twitter with like, okay, I'm not gonna do a name call. I'm just going to post the study right now. Okay, here's the data. Here you go. Can you please stop saying what you're saying? And it will be so quickly goalpost, like just almost instantaneously, like to another thing, like, ha, you know, mere mortal fiend, have you not discovered that this is in fact representational of the fact that black men in fact do not use condoms as much as white men, and that explains why they have all these deep social mores. Like, I am still baffled by this take, and I'm still baffled that he's doubling down and tripling down on this. It is one of the weirder things that I have encountered in the history of engaging with right-wing reactionaries for a living. It is utterly, it might be one of the strangest. It is utterly and completely bizarre. And it's still fucking going. Fathers, that's an actual thing he said in a debate I had with him, that the reason for that is because... But why even respond? Why give him any attention? Who cares about him if he doesn't even understand what's going on? Just plainly some sort of fixation with you? Why not just walk away and, I don't know, continue to do your thing? Well, that would have been nice. Why did y'all vote? This won our election. This won the straw poll. this was the vote. But no, I was going to go on this. I won't lie, morbidly curious in this one if he was going to address any of the Richard Wolff critiques. because like that would have been nice to have seen, you know, that at least maybe there would have been some growth. There would have been like, oh, okay, well, it's interesting. After, you know, actually trying to learn a little bit about the labor theory of value, I realized that I in fact did not understand even a cursory glance at what any of that might be. So I was factually incorrect about that. We voted again, and 66% said literally anything else. True, man. Democracy, ain't it just the best? Because they don't wear condoms, super pseudoscientific racist nonsense, which turns out not even to bear fruit.
I know that sounds stupid, but he's been making this case over and over again, despite the fact that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
People are getting pregnant before they graduate high school, like a bunch of reasons.
No, but why is that happening to black households? Why do black households have that high rate?
I mean, you have the breakdown of the family. You have a bunch of different like factors. We set up a system where women are incentivized to not marry the father of their kid. Black people, on average, are less likely to use condoms, so they're more likely to have unplanned pregnancies. Like, again, there's a bunch of things that are leading to this, and this is a long-term trend. It's been happening, I think, since the 60s.
Mm-hmm. It didn't zoom in on my face. There's no face zoom this time. This point is just gonna rest there.
And there's no reason why they would be doing that as opposed to the white population. Like, why are black people in particular not using condoms?
So there's the clip in question. And remember, although that is from a conversation that he and I had, I believe I was in his Discord talking to him, he took the time to clip this specific portion out of that conversation so that he could respond to it in this video. So bare minimum.
I didn't clip it. I downloaded the entire thing. Like, you have to... Not intellectually honest about anything you do. I downloaded the entirety of it, and then I went on to Adobe Premiere, edited out that little piece. There's not like a Twitch clip that we made viral based on that. I did upload that edited piece though to Twitter, and that was something. They had a whole time. I don't think a lot of people have been exposed to condom theory. I think it was the first time most people had seen condom theory. So it was a whole thing. Yeah.
He would have had to have heard this twice. Once when he listened to it when I first said it, and another time when he clipped it out to put it in this video, right? We all agree on that. We all understand that. Maybe a third time if you reacted to this live after clipping it a separate time, but at least twice. We can all agree on that. And in there, I was talking about fatherless.
By the way, like, this is a really different thing to do this live, like to actually go through this piece by piece and then have to either react to it or pull things up, than it is to do an edited video. Where when you're doing an edited video like this, you have the time. You have like the ability to do research, you have the ability to look the stuff up, you have the ability to track down clips, you have the ability to zoom in on people's faces and turn it black and white to emphasize your points. You can do all that, right? And yet even then, it's just like a remarkable joke that this is what you put together. I don't even know why this one came about. Like, I would understand if you'd responded to the Richard Wolff video, but this it just seems like you're airing all the dirty laundry. It's just like, oh, it's just boiled over. Time to jerk off and hit record.
And I was linking it to high school condom use.
People are getting pregnant before they graduate high school.
So we're talking about teen pregnancy. That is the topic. You understand? And Serfs is asking me why.
And there's no reason why they would be doing that as opposed to the white population. Like, why are black people in particular not using condoms?
Repeatedly. Why? It's a Vosh tactic. It's really annoying, but that's the context around this clip. Now look at the way that Serfs responds to that.
And he presented me with a document in order to prove that. And this was the study that I took a look at. Condom refusal and young black men, the influence of pleasure, sexual partners, and friends. The study investigated pleasure-related, partner-related, and social normative correlates of recent condom refusal in young black men. A cross-section sectional study attending clinics treating sexually transmitted diseases in 3 cities was conducted. The median age was 19.6 years. Nearly 1 of every 2 young men indicated the recent refusal to use a condom after request from their partner. Significant findings included the following partner-related beliefs. I feel closer to my partner without a condom.
Like, this, again, such a weird hill to die on. But like, yeah, we were talking about both things, right? We were first talking about the family dynamic. Why are there so many families in America, black families that are fatherless? Because he had brought up originally that, like, you know, it's the breakdown of the family. That's one of the reasons that people are overrepresented in jail. It's cultural, family breakdown, all that kind of stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, why do you think that is? I want to just get to the root of it. And eventually we got to that part where he was like, I don't know, they don't use condoms. And yeah, that's very, very weird. And now he's goalposting, as he often does, right? This is like, again, if you want to talk about debate tactics, this is one of the things that he's in the middle of doing, because now he's adding, well, okay, I've got a new criteria. It's also amongst high school students. So I want to add that to the mix. All right. I want to add that to the fray. High school black kids are the ones who don't use condoms. That's why, you know, because that's also the only time when a family can ever be started is basically when you're in high school.
If this is the evidence that you're going to be proposing, so this is the way that you're justifying the statement that black people don't use condoms,
we're back to
you better hope you're using a control. You better hope that you're juxtaposing the use of condoms amongst black people and white people. Because if you're just pointing towards a study that only looks at black people, it shows you nothing.
So this is Dunning-Kruger on a maximum scale. So Mr. is mad at me in this clip because I sent him this data on the attitudes of young black people on condom use. And he's angry because this doesn't have a comparison versus other ethnic groups, specifically white people. But the thing is, his question wasn't to prove to him that this existed statistically. If he had asked that, then I would have sent him the CDC data that I presented during our debate. So, like right here, I have percentage of women age 15 to 49 who currently using female.
Like how he just peeked up there. It's like, okay, so right here, I've got my condom studies. I'll prove it to all of you. It's real, I swear.
Sterilization, oral contraceptive pill, male condom, or long-lasting reversible contraceptives in the United States. And you can see it's coded. Is this one coded by race? Yeah. All right. I think it's the next chart, actually. Here we go. This one is coded by race. And you can see the green is black non-Hispanic. And this is female sterilization, which skews older, obviously, because people get sterilized when they're older. Pills, it's under. Condoms is under, which is what we were talking about. And long-lasting reversible contraceptives are under. I'll put it on screen in case you're doubtful on whether or not that's the case. He asked me the reason behind that.
And I wanna just explain something as to why this is just ultimately probably, again, the weirdest take or the weirdest thing I've had anyone on the right still try to fall and die over this hill for, is because that would not explain in any way, shape, or form why black men are disproportionately represented in prison. Like, in any way, shape, like if we get to the root of this, if you really want to like die on this hill, even if this was the case, even if it turns out that statistically black people use condoms less than white people, what the fuck does that have to do with the end result being, and that's why more black people commit murders in the United States. That's why they disproportionately commit more murders than white people. But because again, it comes down to the condoms. It's that. It's the formation of the family unit based on the condoms. That, like, it all stems from, it's always been the condoms. You must understand that's been the root of all this. You know, historic racism, systemic racism, critical race theory, all these things. None of it is true. None of it. Slavery, not true. It all comes down to the core. It's about the core, the condom. All right, it's always been about the condom. And then that's the other thing. Okay, that's utterly bizarre. If you want to die on that hill. On top of that, it turns out that that wasn't even true. Like even the core tenet of all this, where it's like, well, yeah, but black people disproportionately use condoms less. They don't. Turns out they don't. Yeah, like I wasn't expecting to find that out. It didn't matter. It had no bearing on this discussion whatsoever. It doesn't make any of this like less weird or less bizarre. But still, even that wasn't true. It doesn't even come down to that. He's paid off by big condom. Could be.
So I sent him a study, a qualitative research paper on what the reasoning behind the decision not to use condoms was. And he looks at it and immediately shifts the goalpost, or maybe doesn't understand. Again, Dunning-Kruger or deceptive, whichever one, it's completely wrong, to an issue of this not proving it statistically. So this is like, this is proven statistically. Let's find out why.
What's the Dunning-Kruger count at this point? Has it been 7? Have we have 7 Dunning-Krugers in one video?
Research. And he doesn't understand, even though, again, he asked me why. So I'm answering his question.
Cool. Now I gotta pull up the fucking study. We gotta look at it all, and we gotta pull up the facts and figures because he's proven us wrong once again. Yeah, here's the one. Oh yeah, this one has the meme too. This is the meme that he was like flooding his feed with. Sean says a contributing factor to fatherless homes in the black community is less condom use. No. Remember, the conversation was and always was, why is there no representation of black people in jail and prison? Why do you think they commit all these crimes, right? And you were getting down to its fundamental principle. That's why I grilled you on it. We got down to the root, and we found out about condom theory. And here we are, again, one of the most utterly bizarre things I've ever come across in my journeys on the internet. But yes, it's a large, vast world. I understand that. You know, we have all kinds of different theories and ideas. That's it. I'm gonna stand by this one. This was a pretty banger tweet. If I can also self-filate a little bit, Sean, if you'll permit me. If you'll permit me just a little bit of self-filation, I think this was a pretty benevolent tweet. This is also why it's harder to do this live than to make these response videos, you know? All right. Unmarried men's contraceptive use at recent sexual intercourse in the United States, 2011 to 2015. Key findings, data from the National Survey of Family Growth. In 2011 to 2015, 81.7% of unmarried men who had sexual intercourse in the last 3 months reported that they or their female partner used any method of contraception at the last sexual intercourse. Nearly 60% of unmarried men reported using any male method of contraception. But where is it? A higher percentage of unmarried non-Hispanic men use the male condom compared with Hispanic non-Hispanic men. A higher percentage of young unmarried men use any male method than the male condom. That would make sense. A higher percentage of unmarried non-Hispanic black men use the male condom compared with Hispanic and non-Hispanic white men. Enhance. Oh, too much. We've gone too far. Just going to read this one very slowly. Again. A higher percentage of unmarried, non-Hispanic, black men use the male condom compared with Hispanic and non-Hispanic white men. And again, even if this didn't turn out to be true, even if this wasn't part of it, you know, even if this wasn't a part of the entire thing, all right, that has nothing to do with their overrepresentation in prisons, with their overrepresentation in murder statistics, all that kind of shit. Like that would really not explain this. That's not a good origin story for any of this. Like, goddamn. And even then, it's fucking wrong. You weirdo. Why are you so pleased with yourself? Like, goddamn.
Black gay men who face the highest risk of HIV infection rarely discuss using protection, but they tend to use it by default.
He brought this up live during our debate as well, and it was just embarrassing for me to have to interact with somebody who couldn't understand the basics of the conversation that we were actually having. On top of that, he brought up another study about how black men age 40 and up typically use condoms more than white men age 40 and up, ignoring the fact that the reason behind that is that black men age 40 and up are significantly less likely to be married at that point than their white counterparts. And again, age 40 and up, not really relevant when we're talking about high school and teen pregnancy, as was shown in the original clip that the Serfs himself, again, had to see at least
This is the entire second half of the video. It is. The video's almost done. Like, he's still going on about this. It's going to end on that. All right, final word.
Conversation. Like, he cannot literally understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, so it's kind of embarrassing for me to respond to him if he can't follow the conversation. And he's demonstrated no ability over the past 8 or 9 months to correct himself.
This has to be one of the least self-aware human beings I've ever encountered in my life. Like, in every way, shape, and form.
When he's been caught spreading misinformation. There are people in the comments that are like, dude, what are you saying? What are you even talking about? And obviously, he's just ignoring that, or maybe he's just not even reading it. He's not responding to any negative criticism whatsoever. So what's the point of...
Are you serious? Do I go through the YouTube comment section and respond to every single... No, I do not do that. No, I don't do that. That would take an immeasurable amount of time. That would, like, are you kidding? Some videos have like 4,000 comments. Yeah. I don't need to go to the section where you'll be with all your cronies being like, oh yeah, Lance, and yet another Dunning-Kruger effect. Totally Dunning-Krugered himself. So much Dunning-Krugers.
Of me reacting and responding to this guy who can't understand the basics of the conversation that he was involved in, and he had extra points to re-reference it before continuing to comment on it. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it right here because there's nowhere to go forward from this point of this video, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social medias. You can support me.
Wow. Oh man. I feel like I lost 3 years of my life. That's why I didn't want to do that chat. And yet we did. But that was pain. That was pain. That was absolute pain. I feel it's almost as if like is this what Catholics feel like when you do like fledging or flagellation? Is that it? Is that the word? The cat o' nine tails on your back a whole bunch of times? That's what it feels like to have to sit through one of those videos. Really good job addressing all the Richard Wolff points though. That was cool. That was really good. I just want to quickly do one correction about that segment we did yesterday on Actual Justice Warrior and his obsession with black people's condom use and their penises. We spoke about how the study that he had brought up both in that debate and in general related to the use of black people and their use of condoms, black men's use of condoms, even if it turned out that he was wrong, that doesn't really matter to the greater point, obviously, because the greater point being that this is about why is there a disproportionate amount of black men overrepresented both in murder statistics and in prison itself. That was really at the core of everything we were talking about. And then he went into condom theory, which again, extremely weird, very, very weird. I have not, outside of actual justice warrior heard condom theory before, but I'll add it to the list of strange race realism that there is. But anyways, I pulled up a study yesterday to show that in fact they not only do use condoms, but in that study, it specifically demonstrated that they use them more often than their white counterparts. It turns out that wasn't the actual study that he had referenced in his in our debate. So I wanted to be completely transparent, both save him time in making a response to a response to a response, and point out that that was in fact the wrong study, even though that study that I used demonstrated that they in fact used condoms more often than their white counterparts. So I've got the actual study up here that he was referencing. So of course I do apologize about that. Oh, wow. So I just wanted to show the actual study that he was referencing, which is this one: current contraceptive status among women aged 15 to 49, United States, 2015 to 2017. Key findings: in 2015 to 2017, 64.9% of the 72.2 million women aged 15 to 49 in the United States were currently using contraception. The most common contraceptive methods used for female sterilization. And then speaking about condom use. Key finding: current condom use did not differ amongst non-Hispanic white, non-Hispanic black, and Hispanic women. So even in the own study that he was referencing, once again, same thing. There is not a demonstrable difference between the use. So still super weird. Still super gross. Still, like, yeah, I guess condom theory will eventually have to be replaced with pull-out theory. So, yeah, stop being weird. Stop obsessing over this. It's such a weird hill to die on, and it's still so very, very strange. So incredibly, incredibly strange.
Hey, do you like movies? Do you like Serfs? Do you want movies and Serfs watching the movies? So then come over to the new channels. It's the Serfs cinema. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Can you do the thing, you know, that thumbs up and comment and all those things that help us out in the algorithm that controls every aspect of our lives? Also, if you happen to have a Facebook account, can you delete it? Like, just delete it. You should probably delete your Facebook account because it's not a great company. But hey, if you can't do that for whatever reason, I understand. And could you also go to facebook.com/thesurftimes then and give us a little like and a follow. We're just trying to push back against the fact that people like Ben Shapiro happen to dominate the platform entirely. And when everyone asks why do older generations believe the things they believe, one of the problems is the majority of them on social media use Facebook. So to counter that, we're just going to be on there too now. Also, if you happen to have a union or a worker co-op or even a leftist project, podcast, website, Zoom, MySpace, it doesn't matter. We will advertise it for free on this channel. All you got to do is go to weareserfs.com and use the forms that we got there, weareserfs.com. Thanks, everybody.
To our gods, I'm Raft and Xander Corvus. We shall build golden idols in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker. Our soft, spongy flesh is yours to command. To our lords, Evan Nudie, Trevor R., Alexander Thaler, Ryan Lubin, Bisexual Black Gamer, Tofox, and Jeffrey Lamb, we proudly carry your sigils onto the battlefield. And to our Knights of the Round Table, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Timothy Hart, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophagic, Saren 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Callie Kotka, The Great Pudini, Von Janny, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Encosin, J. Fraser Cartwright, Jimmy Bignuts, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Nicholas Marks, Jopi, Josh Mickelson, Melissa Murphy, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, and Constance Joyce Lacheris. We tip our cap and lift our mug and salute you.